Digitalisierung statt Marginalisierung, Partizipation mit KI, das ist der Titel der Session, die jetzt folgt. Ein Forum mit Taissiya Sutormina von Lizeth e.V., Lizeth Soto Rivas von der Online-Community Latinas in Alemania, Tobias Stapf von Minor, dem Projektkontor für Bildung und Forschung und Nicolas Bouliane von All About Berlin. Sie werden über KI und Migration sprechen. Und sie wollen euch jetzt mal in die Welt von migrantischen Online-Communities einführen, wollen in einer Paneldiskussion auf Deutsch und Englisch beleuchten, wie diese digitalen Netzwerke zur gesellschaftlichen Teilhabe von Zugewanderten in Deutschland beitragen können und wie eben auch innovative KI-Lösungen dabei helfen können, noch besser hier anzukommen und sich zu vernetzen. Und bevor ich jetzt auch gleich alle auf die Bühne bitte, würde ich hier gerne noch einmal um ein bisschen mehr Ruhe bitten, damit wir auch gut gleich unseren Panelisten zuhören können. Und damit wünsche ich ganz viel Spaß und viele interessante Einblicke.
Hallo. Ich bin Tobias Stapf. Danke für die Anmoderation. Ich freue mich ganz sehr, dass wir hier beim Digital Social Summit dabei sein können, eben mit unserer Diskussion zum Thema Digitalisierung statt Marginalisierung, Partizipation mit KI. Und wir wollen euch heute hier einführen in die Welt von migrantischen Online-Communities. Das heißt, das sind Netzwerke von Zugewanderten und Geflüchteten in Deutschland, die vor allen Dingen auf verschiedenen Social-Media-Plattformen existieren, die sich dort zusammengefunden haben, um sich gegenseitig zu unterstützen, beim Ankommen, bei der Orientierung in Deutschland sich gegenseitig zu helfen, Informationen weiterzugeben. Und in diese Welten bekommt man sehr selten Einblick, wenn man nicht Teil von diesen Communities ist. Und deswegen freuen wir uns heute sehr, dass wir hier auch auf unserem Panel ein paar Leute haben, die euch hier im Publikum da Einblicke geben können. Und dann wollen wir eben auch zum einen ein bisschen sehen, was in diesen Communities passiert, was dort diskutiert wird, was die Bedarfe von Zugewanderten sind, die dort eben diskutiert werden. Und dann aber eben auch aktuell die Frage diskutieren, welchen Einfluss hat allgemein Social Media darauf, wie sich diese Online-Communities strukturieren und insbesondere jetzt auch KI, welchen Einfluss hat KI auf die Diskussionen, die dort stattfinden und letztlich welchen Einfluss hat dann KI dadurch auch auf die gesellschaftliche Teilhabe von Zugewanderten und Geflüchteten in Deutschland. Ja? Weil das ist letztlich das sind Fragen, die in diesen Online-Communities verhandelt werden. Ja, welche Rolle können zugewanderte Menschen in der Gesellschaft hier spielen? Und das wollen wir heute hier mit unserem Panel diskutieren und sind aber auch sehr gespannt auf Fragen aus dem Publikum. Gibt es das Mikro und würden wir uns auch sehr freuen, da in einen Austausch mit euch zu kommen. Genau, wen haben wir heute hier auf dem Panel? Das möchte ich euch gerne vorstellen, nochmal ein bisschen detaillierter. Wir haben Lizeth Soto Rivas, ist Gründerin einer der aktivsten Communities von spanischsprachigen Frauen in Deutschland, Latinas in Alemania. Sie ist selber 2014 nach Berlin gekommen, ausgebildete Fotografin und Digital Marketing Strategin. Und macht ehrenamtlich diese Arbeit als Administratorin und Gründerin dieser riesigen und sehr aktiven Online-Community oder Community von Communities inzwischen von eben spanischsprachigen Frauen in ganz Deutschland. Dann haben wir Nicolas Bouliane. Er ist auch 2014, glaube ich, nach Berlin gekommen.
15.
Ja. Okay. Und kannte damals, soweit ich weiß, noch kein Deutsch, aber hat trotzdem sich entschieden, hier sozusagen sein Zuhause zu finden. Als Softwareentwickler kam er hierher und hatte da selber eben auch diese Erfahrungen gemacht, wie schwierig es sein kann, sich hier in Berlin sein Leben zu organisieren, mit der ganzen Bürokratie. Und da hat er dann 2017 den Blog All About Berlin gegründet. Und ich kann das nur empfehlen, allen im Publikum sich das mal anzuschauen. Es ist egal, ob ihr aus Deutschland kommt oder woanders her. hat Nicolas seine technischen Fähigkeiten eingesetzt, um eine sehr praktische Tools auch zu entwickeln, wie man mit dem Bürokratiemonster in Deutschland umgehen kann. Also jeder, der irgendwann mal einen Bürgeramtstermin gesucht hat, dem kann ich nur empfehlen, in Berlin, dem kann ich nur empfehlen, da auf den Blog zu schauen. Da gibt es wirklich sehr hilfreiche Tools für alle. Genau. Und dann haben wir noch Taissiya Sutormina hier auf dem Panel. Taissiya ist bei der migrantischen Organisation Vernetzung und Integration. Und dort leitet sie das Projekt NEXIM, Social Media for Migration Society. Und dieses Projekt beschäftigt sich genau mit diesen Fragen, welche Rolle spielen migrantische Online-Communities in Deutschland, wie wird dort Integration und Teilhabe verhandelt und wie können diese Online-Communities auch in ihrer gesellschaftlichen Rolle gestärkt werden. Ja? Und Taissiya bringt dazu auch noch eine besondere Perspektive und Expertise als Datenanalystin. Also sie schaut sich besonders eben Social-Media-Daten an, um zu verstehen, wie diese Online-Communities funktionieren, wie sie vernetzt sind, welche Themen dort diskutiert werden und was das sozusagen, was sich daraus ableiten lässt an den Bedarfen, die zugewanderte Menschen in Deutschland hier haben. Genau. Soweit unser Panel hier vorgestellt und dann wollen wir aber gleich in die Diskussion einsteigen. Wir würden vom Ablauf her, haben wir erstmal 3 kurze Inputs von den dreien hier, dass sie ein bisschen vorstellen von ihren Communities und was für Einblicke sie dort eben daraus gewinnen und welche Rolle auch KI auch schon so in ihrer Arbeit spielt. Dann gehen wir hier ein bisschen in die Diskussion und öffnen das dann auch für Fragen aus dem Publikum. Ja? Dann soweit von mir, dann würde ich an Liz geben. Liz, kannst du uns ein bisschen erzählen über Latinas in Alemania, wie das gegründet wurde und was da so passiert?
Now I'm switching to English.
Yes. If it's okay, we will have some inputs in English, some in German.
Yeah. Thank you, Tobias, for the introduction. Yes, as you mentioned, I came here in 2014, and I guess like many people that are migrating, I felt lonely, so I really wanted to find a place where I could feel secure, and I noticed that there was no groups like for women, like Latinas or like in Spanish in my language. So that's how I came up with this idea to create the community Latinas in Berlin in that time. And I don't know, like now it's become, like now we have 15, I don't know if it's going to work. It is?
Quick question to the tech team.
There, okay.
Yes, yeah.
So, we jump. Okay. So now in 2000, we started in 2014, and now we are Latinas in Alemania, Latinas in Germany since 2022, and now we have close to 16,000 on Facebook group, and on Instagram we have also almost 14,000 people, and I'm super proud of this, like the achievement, because last year we started with like chapters around Germany. So now we have 9 chapters, like Hamburg, Frankfurt, some areas like Baden-Württemberg and Sachsen. In between 22 and 25, because we're still hiring ambassadors. So it's amazing. It has been a really amazing journey, and to be honest, it is very, very nice to connect with other women, no? So, yes, you mentioned this is me, Liz, and this is my mission in life. I'm sure I studied communication, so I always had this power of communicate and make connection with other people. And yeah, in general, what we have been doing as podcast, I have my own podcast, the one is in the middle, and some interviews and stuff around, like the Deutsche Welle also had an interview about the community. I have participated in some accelerator programs, like the Break for Impact Hub Madrid, and last year, the Facebook Accelerator program. And yeah, so basically this is what the community aims for. And yeah, well, this is our mission, no? Like we try to connect these women in the community to feel more home, you know, because our culture as Latin women is so different from Germany. So it's like we need to feel home. So this is what we try to do in Latinas and Alemania.
Okay, and can you give us some specific examples? What kind of topics, what kind of questions do people ask in the community? What happens?
Yeah, well, that's a very good question. I think the first thing is, of course, the language. The second is like the bureaucracy, because of, you know, it's a very difficult topic. So for us, it's like they always have questions about bureaucracy, the health system, for example, and of course work, no? Like how they can integrate themselves to work here in Germany, because of course we came. I mean, many of us, we came with this desire, no, to have a better life and work. And yeah, I think those are the most important topics.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how do people then support each other? So those are the kind of questions people ask. So what kind of do they get in the communities, and where do those offers of support come from?
So we try, like, from our side, like as you know, like the Latinas in Alemania, we try to do workshops with people that are, you know, like I don't know, let's say like a person who works in the job center or etc. Or like you guys as well, like, you know, we try to bring this information inside the community. We create also safe spaces where people can talk about their issues. I mean, of course, I'm talking about like this, but also there's, I forgot to say, like mental health is a huge problem. Believe it or not, sadly, there's a lot of domestic violence as well. And as immigrants, we don't know where to go. So this is also, you know, like we try to create this, or like we find Spanish speakers, psychologists, and all this support, no? Like through events or seminars or even online events. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. So I think that's, well, this is just a couple of pictures showing, you know, like all the happiness. And that's basically our Instagram account, Latinas Alemania. Yeah.
Very nice. Yeah, so you can go and, also genau, können Sie sich auch direkt anschauen, kann man zumindest auf Instagram rein und kann sich sozusagen die Arbeit dieser Community, die Aktivitäten also direkt anschauen.
Ja.
Das ist auch sehr spannend.
Ja, genau.
Danke, dann würde ich jetzt erstmal an Taissiya weitergeben. Taissiya wird uns auch über ein paar andere Online-Communities etwas erzählen.
Genau. Vielen Dank für die Vorstellung und ich freue mich auch hier zu sein und besonders freue ich mich, zu diesem für mich persönlichen Thema sprechen zu dürfen, weil als ich vor 6 Jahren aus Kasachstan nach Deutschland gekommen bin, hatte ich überhaupt keine Ahnung, wie das Leben in Deutschland funktioniert. Also ich habe so was gehört und ich hatte schon Deutschkenntnisse und mir war dieses Ankommen vielleicht auch ein bisschen leichter gefallen. Aber ich hatte trotzdem sehr viele Fragen und dann habe ich mich natürlich online erstmal umgeschaut und bin relativ schnell auf eine kleine, kuschelige Facebook-Gruppe von kasachstanischen Studentinnen in Berlin gestoßen. 800 Mitglieder. Das ist ganz klein vergleichsweise. Und da habe ich auch eine Anfrage geschickt und eine Administratorin, genauso wie Liz, hat in 2-3 Stunden meine Anfrage bestätigt. Und dann hatte ich Zugang zu den ganzen Diskussionen der Community. Und dann habe ich erstmal gelernt, dass ich nur 120 Tage im Jahr arbeiten darf als ausländische Studentin, aber auch ganz, ganz andere Fragen. Und das war wirklich ein Unterstützungstool für mich und eine Orientierungshilfe beim Ankommen. Und seitdem forsche ich schon seit einigen Jahren zu migrantischen Online-Communities. Und wir haben in den letzten 4 Jahren mehr als 7.000 migrantische Online-Communities auf Telegram, auf Facebook, auf WhatsApp, in mehr als 22 Sprachen und das in Deutschland beobachtet. Und ich habe euch Daten zu einer der jüngsten migrantischen Online-Communities mitgebracht, und zwar von ukrainischen Geflüchteten. ich bin keine Sitzerin, das bei mir ein bisschen Bewegung reinbringen. Also ich habe euch Daten mitgebracht, das ist Stand 2022, Juni, nach 3-4 Monaten nach dem Kriegsanfang, wo Sie sehen, links sind die Online-Communities von ukrainischen Geflüchteten auf Facebook und rechts auf Telegram. Die schwarzen Punkte, das sind ukrainische Migrantinnen, ukrainische Communities, die nach dem Kriegsanfang gegründet und organisiert wurden. Und wir sehen auch, dass insgesamt 200 Netzwerke für Selbsthilfe, für den Austausch zwischen unterschiedlichen Generationen von Geflüchteten, also die Geflüchteten, die im ersten Monat angekommen sind, konnten ihr Wissen auch den nächsten Generationen weitergeben. Und wir sehen auch, dass es ganz, ganz unterschiedliche, in ganz Deutschland verbreitet Netzwerke gibt, zum Beispiel in Lörrach. Ich weiß, es soll eine ganz kleine Stadt sein und sogar dort gibt es eine Facebook-Gruppe, die heißt Ukrainische Geflüchtete auf Ukrainisch in Lörrach. So, Garmisch-Partenkirchen. Und hier die Kreise, die Größe der Kreise, das indiziert, wie groß die Community ist. Und natürlich sind die größten Communities auch in Berlin, weil es auch sehr viele Communities in Berlin gibt und die Vernetzung auch sehr intensiv und sehr dynamisch erfolgt. Und wir haben uns aber auch gefragt, okay, was bespricht man in den Communities? Worüber sprechen ukrainische Geflüchtete in Deutschland? Und dann haben wir innerhalb von 2 Jahren beobachtet, mehr als 2 Millionen Nachrichten auf Telegram haben wir analysiert und das aus 261 Gruppen und das will ich auf jeden Fall nochmal hier eine Pause machen mit 196.000 ukrainischen Geflüchteten auf Telegram. Und wir haben auch gesehen, ich hoffe, es ist auch gut zu sehen, die meisten Diskussionsthemen, die Top 7, angefangen mit Arbeit, Aufenthalt und alles, was Dokumente, Unterlagen angeht, Jobcenter, soziale Leistungen, Wohnungssuche, Kinderbetreuung, Deutschland, Finanzen. Das sind die Top 7 Themen, die in ukrainischen geflüchteten Communities besprochen werden. Und das mit der Entwicklung. Und wir sehen, dass solche Themen wie Aufenthaltsfragen oder Themen wie soziale Leistungen in der zweiten Hälfte von dem Jahr 2023 abflachen und das Thema Arbeit, Arbeitssuche, arbeitsrechtliche Fragen in Deutschland mehr an Wichtigkeit gewinnt. Genau, das sind sehr frische Daten, also wir haben sie im Januar, jetzt ist Januar, auch zusammengestellt und das ist ein Indiz, wie Analysetools für Bedarfserfassung auch eingesetzt werden können. Und das sind eigentlich die Themen und die Topics, die Online-Communities auch besprechen und wo Informationsbedarf auch festzustellen ist. Genau, und dann haben wir auch gedacht, okay, schön, wir haben ein Tool im Projekt gebaut, ein datenschutzkonformes Tool mit einer öffentlichen API. Und dann haben wir gedacht, wie denken ukrainische Geflüchtete über Jobcenter? Was ist das Stimmungsbild? Und wir haben, das ist nur provisorisch eine Vorstellung von einer Woche. Wir haben aus diesen 261 Telegram-Chats Nachrichten zu dem Thema Jobcenter analysiert und mit Hilfe von KI, und da kommen wir Partizipation mit KI, wie KI eigentlich so ein Barometer sein kann für Institutionen, für staatliche Behörden, wie das eine Feedback-Funktion darstellen kann. Und wir sehen, dass die meisten die meisten Meldungen schon in einem neutralen Stimmungsbild kommen. Es sind meistens Fragen, die gestellt werden. Okay, wie kann ich einen Antrag machen und was wenn? Und ich habe hier Geld in der Ukraine. Wird es noch gesehen? Wird es wahrgenommen? Und die meisten Fragen sind doch mit neutralen Label, aber wir sehen auch wenige, aber dennoch negative gestimmte Meldungen und sehr, sehr wenig positive. An dieser Stelle würde ich gerne weitergeben, wie KI und Algorithmen auch die Situation und die Arbeit und vor allem die Lage von Personen mit Migration und Fluchterfahrung verbessern können.
Yep.
Okay.
Hi, everybody. Yeah, my name is Nick. I run a website called All About Berlin, where I put all the information that comes from online communities, from immigrants dealing with, there it is, that all the information from immigrants dealing with German bureaucracy, and I just synthesize it, bring it together, and add sources, verify it with experts, and just basically make the information a lot easier to understand. That includes all the basic information people need in their first month, their first year in Berlin, but also what comes after when they want to start a business, for example, and when they need to understand the system and basically be a functional adult in a new country. As you can see on the screen, those are probably the most popular guides. So the basic being moving to Berlin, but also finding a job, starting a business, finding a place to live, which is getting very difficult. And another big one that people don't quite understand when they move here is the Anmeldung. And thank you. And so I try to make the information as easy to understand as possible. And this is one part where I start using AI more and more to basically proofread my text and make sure there's not a better way to simplify things. And on top of this, I also build tools to support this information. A good example is a tax calculator to show people who are brand new in the country how much money they actually keep, which is very important if you're negotiating your salary. On this page is also an Anmeldung appointment finder, because people need to register their address to start their bureaucratic life in this country. And so I built this, there are no appointments. I built this tool to basically help people find an appointment without checking every 5 minutes. So they just open this and they tick the little box, and then they just get a sound in the background in their browser when there's a new appointment, so that they can focus less on German bureaucracy and more on the other reasons they moved to this country. So yeah, in total there's 150 guides or so, about 400 pages on the website, and it's growing, and the existing content also needs to be updated constantly. So when there's an immigration reform, when there are rules for the blue card change, I need to update the website. I need to talk with immigration lawyers, relocation consultants, and basically make sure I get the information right. I started this website in 2017, and it has been my full-time job since 2020. And it is a full-time job, believe me. There's quite a lot happening in German bureaucracy. And, well, es kommt drauf an. But yeah, there is a lot of information that is simply missing from official sources, and there's a lot of it that is hidden in all sorts of communities that are very country and diaspora specific. And extracting all of that information and putting it in a place where people can find it through Google is extremely valuable work. And also taking 5 years of conversations and just summarizing them as one verified piece of information means that people can get good information and make good decisions. The way I see it, immigration is this very long and complex journey, and the best we can do is give people a good map. And with a good map, you know where you're going, how long it's going to take, what hurdles to expect along the way, and this is what I'm hoping to do. I don't use AI on the website itself, but I do use it a lot to support my work. Again, I like to say that I use it as a sort of super dictionary to find easier ways to say things, to find easier definitions for words, and to find ways to explain the same concepts in half the words. Because I think people's attention is quite limited, and when you talk for 20 pages about German health insurance, they kind of lose attention. So sometimes it's just about condensing all that information, all the stuff that you can find in communities, without having to spend, hours and hours of research trying to figure out what is right, what is wrong, what is still valid, and whether or not faxing the Ausländerbehörde is still the best way to go. Someone's dealt with this. So yeah, this is roughly what I do for a living.
Mm-hmm. So just one question there. So would you say, it sounds like you're saying that you don't think one day ChatGPT can answer how do I find an apartment in Berlin, and it can give you actual actionable
Well, first I would have to build 50,000 of them. But beyond that, there's a lot of information that is just not there. A lot of the work I do now is just putting information on the internet for the first time. And ChatGPT is trained on what it can see, which is a subset of all the information on the internet. And it cannot verify if the information is accurate. It cannot verify if it's a conspiracy, if it's true, if it's false, if it's misinformation, or just people not quite understanding what advice they're giving. So I don't think that ChatGPT can do the job of, for example, the immigration consultants that go with their customers every single week at the Bürgeramt and know how each worker there.
Oh. Sorry, I think we have a sound.
Are we in trouble?
Sure. Okay.
Oops.
Can everybody hear us okay? Okay, ChatGPT disagreed. I was like, no,
the bottom
listen to him.
I think people who go there every week and actually deal with the human beings working inside German bureaucracy have a very different understanding of bureaucracy than you would get by reading the entire internet. And a lot of my job is just talking to them and extracting information, putting it on a website. And I think it applies, for example, for the apartment search, when the actual answer on how to find an apartment is not just look harder or use these websites, but the specific little things that you have to include on your profile on Immobilien Scout are knowing simple facts like, well, if you have a dog, it's about 3 times as hard. If you don't speak German, it's about 4 or 5 times as hard. And if you combine all of those things together, you know your odds and you make decisions accordingly. And AI cannot see even what is going on. It's not in the real world. It's not observing these things. It's not talking to people. It's not talking to friends who are going through the same bureaucratic processes. It does not understand what it feels to stress about these things. And because it's lacking this sort of context, I don't think that it can give good information to people in need. Or at least it cannot format information in the right way when people need it, roughly.
Yeah, okay. And I guess, yeah, it's this kind of tacit information, and I think before you in our conversation you mentioned this kind of cozy web of kind of, not so visible, not accessible to AI, where a lot of this kind of tacit information is exchanged.
Yeah, the cozy web is worth going over. It's this layer of the internet that is not the public, corporate, cleaned up internet, but it's those communities where people exchange information and know each other on a first-name basis. It's those WhatsApp groups for the dog park. And it's this community of, for example, in my case, Canadians in Berlin, where we really try to find Canadian ingredients that are not here, and that we help each other out in a way that's a lot more intimate because we have a shared context. And this is what makes it the cozy web. And this whole part of the internet is completely invisible to AI and kind of on purpose because we're trying to just do something a bit more private. And
But then I'd like to turn to Liz to ask, so you manage some of these tacit cozy web communities, but then even though Nick just said AI doesn't have access to that, but then it still plays a role in those communities, no? I mean, what in your work as an administrator, what role does AI play?
Well, I mean, I guess like there's 2 sides. The one that it's like from my side that I use it as an admin, of course I use ChatGPT and a lot of tools that simplifies, for example, the responses from the community, like automatically responses. And I know, for example, Facebook has all these schedule tools. So I use that, no? Mostly I answer the questions or like automatic replays on the chat. And I don't know, I think the algorithm on social media in general, like Instagram, Facebook, it does detect certain words, because I've noticed that some topics get more attention, for example, in the community. When you're talking about, I don't know, like, let's say there's a little bit of drama over there, you know, and then it's like, I don't know, words like violence or like, you know, boom. It's like, it's crazy how it goes the first, and when you open your Facebook, it's the first thing you see, you know. So I think that's how it works a little bit, and yeah, I think those are the things that I think. Really, yeah.
So there's a kind of practical tools that you use.
Yeah, that I use exactly, and the ones that I like, you know, like the Facebook provides as well, and then how the algorithm works inside, which I'm not an expert, of course, but I guess there's a lot of the one that I was, for example, telling yesterday that we were talking. I'm sure they know when you're. I think when you're writing, for example, directly on Facebook, like a long message, I think they know, because I've noticed when I copy paste and I just post it, nobody sees the post. But if I spend time writing down the you know, like as an admin or as a person, the whole text, like you invest time in that, and then you have certain words, boom, is the first time, like 10 minutes, blah, 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 blah,
So
blah.
it gets more views.
Exactly,
and more
exactly.
exposure. Okay.
So I think I've noticed that, I'm sure. And of course, I'm sure Facebook also listens to us.
But would you say then, so looking at the kind of discussions and interactions that happen in your community, would you say that those discussions become more, because there's this hypothesis that the algorithm on social media polarizes discussions more and polarizes communities. Would you confirm that in your experience?
Yes, I think, yeah.
So in what way does it do that? Do you have some examples?
Like, I don't know, like, for example, this type of stuff, no? When I don't know, someone posts, for example, like the anonymous, for example. I think that's the best example on Facebook. And then it's so funny because people notice it, and now everybody wants to write anonymous because they know that they will pop up first.
So these are posts.
Exactly. So
anonymous
now you can
posts
use
without the author.
Exactly. Now you can post anonymous, and everybody's posting like wants to post an anonymous, and then of course I think because of, if you want to hide something, it's like something very private, I guess Facebook said, oh, this is good, so it put it out first, for example. And then I noticed like every single post that is on anonymous, boom, it goes up, and people start answering and reading it, and then because of course as an admin you can see the number of impressions that a post had, and I noticed that, for example, or as I said, the words. For example, if they're using, I don't know, like racism word or like violence word, you know, and boom, or like, I don't know, you know, like these kind of words, the post will go up. Because of course, that's what Facebook wants. Facebook wants people to stay inside. So they want some drama. So this is my opinion, this is what I think, and this is what I've seen.
So what does that mean for your role as an admin for these groups? Do you have to then like do some extra filtering, some extra moderating, and like filter out those kind of messages?
Yes, of course. And there's the admin assist that actually that's also, of course, a very powerful tool because you can already save some words, you know, like bad words or something that if the person writes already, it will tell me like right away. Like it will tell, like someone used this word, for example. Or like, I don't know, let's say it's forbidden to sell medicines on everywhere, like in a Facebook platform. So I have certain names of some, you know, like, I don't know, antibiotics, for example. And then boom, it will show me right away, so I will go and see that's, I think, very useful for me. So I can check when there's something. Or There's also a tool that if a post gets a lot of engagement in a shorter time, the period of time, it will also tell me, like a message as an admin, something is going on, so go and check. So I think this is very useful, but it's a lot of work, of course, because I have to go and check and see that everything is going on, and then, of course, it comes, the stories that everybody knows, that people are fighting in the Facebook group, and then you have to be the bomb over there, and like, okay, but yeah, those are the stories we know.
Yeah. And would you say, there's been a lot of discussion about, hate speech on meta platforms, especially Facebook, and there's also been this discussion. Facebook has been saying that they invested in this moderation teams that remove hate speech posts, but that works mostly in English and less well in other languages. What's your
I don't know, because our group is in Spanish, and it works perfect.
Okay.
For me, and it's so funny because if you're, for example, hate speech, for example, if someone is complaining about, I'm sorry I have to say it, but of course, I don't know, like the German way of doing something, for example, and they say like, oh, this bad word Germans, ooh, boom, like right away, and it goes directly to a part where I will see it, and they right away delete it. But I, as an admin, I have to check if it's true or not, and then I say yes or no, or like go on, choose, So yeah, it's. I don't know if it's the same for all the groups. I guess it also depends on the amount of people and the amount of engagement.
I think it is, honestly.
Right?
I have experience moderating a different community, but it's the same thing where complaining always works. Like in terms of starting a conversation, if you complain about something, you'll get a lot more attention. And I'm starting to realize the same thing as just someone posting on Twitter. If I complain about German bureaucracy, just like instantly front page, everything works fine. And if you post a link to something useful, it just gets a bit suppressed by the algorithm. And yeah, of course, it's unfortunate that everything that starts a fight is what keeps people on the platform, and it's what ends up on my feed in the end. And I'm a part of a few different immigration communities, and it's always what gets surfaced on my Facebook feed, never the actual useful parts about people going to the Bürgeramt and having an experience that could benefit other people. And it's unfortunate.
Sure.
So I guess that poses a little bit the kind of big question. Do you think, so to say, the influence of AI and these algorithms and how they influence the discussions that happen in those online communities, does that help participation of migrants in German society, or does it hinder?
It depends. I think it helps. Definitely helps, and I think that's also our work. Because of course, if we see, it's not like everybody's complaining, but there's a lot of very useful questions that people, used to throw in the group, and I think they stay there, and it's very useful. I think it depends also as an admin or the moderators, how you make this on your, like how you control these things. But of course, if you have a Facebook group or like other groups that you don't have a proper administration, then you will see a lot of horrible things, and then I don't know, but yeah, it's very interesting, to be honest. And just to kind of like, I forgot to follow what you said, Nick, that it's true that I just noticed that, of course, and I mentioned before this, Facebook wants you to stay in Facebook, and I know this from a very good source. And if you share, for example, links to something outside Facebook or they don't want, they don't show it. That's it. So I don't know if, let's say I want to recommend allaboutberlin.com. I don't know. I'm going to try now,
Very useful website.
I'm going to try. They try to hide it.
Yeah, I think it's easier if you post a wall of text and the link in the comments. Like, at least this is what I discovered works for LinkedIn and Twitter, and well, it's probably true for Facebook also.
Yeah.
And I guess there's also maybe a self-promotion angle to it, that if you paste links, it's a form of spam sometimes, but yeah, in the end, it just means that these posts get suppressed, and yeah, the platform on which our content is hosted has incentives of its own. It has its own desires, and they might not necessarily align with those of the communities that you're part of. And this is how we end up with things like these.
Ja.
Wir haben auch gesehen, dass zum Beispiel auf Telegram Verwaltende von ihren Online-Communities auch spezielle Bots einstellen und programmieren können, um bestimmte Inhalte auszublenden, oder andere Bots, die in die Communities reingehen, auch blocken und damit noch diesen Schutzcharakter auch unterstützen. Also mithilfe von KI, aber auch mithilfe vor allem von gesteuerten Algorithmen. Das ist auch der Unterschied, und daran erkennt man auch den Unterschied in der Kommunikationsdynamik von unterschiedlichen Plattformen. Und das ist, wie die Communities zum Beispiel auf Telegram funktionieren.
Yeah, I did notice that we have bots going both on the offensive and the defensive, in the sense that there are lots of bots that are trying to break into the cozy web mostly to sell Bitcoin. And you have, on the other hand, the idea that bots can be useful to auto-moderate the community, to put the bad people in quarantine, like in the little corner where nobody hears them. And that can flag things that start a fight on the forum, just like maintain decorum. And also, something I've experimented with was to automatically answer questions in communities where someone asks about the Anmeldung, and you're like, well, this question gets asked every week, so here's like a recap of the information, here are some useful links, and you solve this very quickly like this. So it's really this thing where you have AI on both sides, both people actively trying to make things worse with AI, and on the other hand, like people using it to augment their ability to be helpful and to make the community a little more useful. So I've really seen both in equal measure.
But that differs then according to platform where that's possible. So you would say in Telegram, for example, that's
Yeah, it works in both ways. Also das funktioniert in beide Richtungen, und wir haben auch gesehen, dass es bedingt Kenntnisse von Verwalten von diesen Telegram-Gruppenchats. Es braucht es braucht Codewissen, es braucht Wissen, dass du bestimmte Hashtags auf bestimmte Weise die Gruppe aufbaust. Also das ist nicht so ganz zugänglich. Und ich glaube, da ist es auch wichtig anzuknüpfen, dass Partizipation mit diesen Algorithmen und mit diesen Hilfetools auch nochmal weiterentwickelt werden soll und unterstützt werden soll.
Dabei, du hast ja da mit vielen verschiedenen Gruppen und auch Admins da Kontakt, Taissiya. Was ist da dein Eindruck? Wie ist da der Wissensstand zu KI, die Rolle, die KI auf diesen Plattformen spielt, und auch wie die Admins das auch selber einsetzen können?
Ja, wir haben auch einige Interviews mit Administratorinnen geführt, und sie meinen, dass ChatGPT schon einige Fragen beantwortet, zum Beispiel, dass ganz banale Fragen vielleicht in den Online-Communities nicht mehr vorkommen, und dass diese Geschichte erzählen innerhalb einer eigenen Community und Unterstützung, aber auch Ratschlag und gegenseitige Erzählung wichtig ist. Und dabei meinen sie auch, dass KI nicht so ganz in deren Arbeitsweise nicht so präsent ist. Vielleicht bei Inhaltsgeneration oder Generieren, aber nicht ganz explizit in der Arbeits- und Herangehensweise.
Okay, cool. Ich will bei dieser Gelegenheit einfach nochmal fragen, ob es irgendwie Fragen aus dem Publikum gibt. Nein, erstmal nicht. Also genau, wenn noch irgendwas kommt, dann sagt gern Bescheid. Dann können wir uns das gerne noch dran nehmen. Dann würde ich aber erstmal hier noch um das Panel die Frage reingeben, so an praktischen Möglichkeiten zum Einsatz von KI in diesem Kontext. Ja? Was könnt ihr euch da vorstellen, welche Möglichkeiten könnte KI dann gerade jetzt zur Unterstützung von Ankommen und Orientierung von Zugewanderten in Deutschland, was könnte da KI noch für Mehrwert bringen? Ja? Und wo könnte es sinnvoll eingesetzt werden?
The first one for me is the one that most people experience currently with AI, where you start implementing it day to day to automate little bits of your work. And I really love this idea of using technology as a bicycle of the mind to enhance your abilities, so that you have something that takes care of the boring parts for you, so you can focus on the parts where you as a human are more capable of. And to me, like, this is what technology is all about, and I really enjoy that. So in my case, for example, as I said, I use it to make text editing a little easier, to spot spelling mistakes, because I'm not a native English speaker, so I still make tons of mistakes, and it's nice to have like an actual language expert just highlight bits of your writing that are not correct. And I think that AI could become a bit like spreadsheets, just something that you integrate in your day-to-day workflow to make you more productive. Mm-hmm. And we're seeing that a lot with ChatGPT already. Like it's just everywhere all of a sudden. And more specifically for immigration, I'm thinking about writing all these little emails that don't really matter. And you know, if German is not your native language, even if you can write in German, it's a lot easier to say, hey, ChatGPT, write an email to cancel my gym membership. Or, hey, ChatGPT, write to the Bürgeramt to just get an update about this situation that has been going on for 4 months. And I think it also gets introduced the same way in community moderation, where you can just have it between you and all the most toxic elements of your community to just kind of pre-filter all the bad things, so you can just focus on the finer details that require an actual human being. This is roughly where I see it being used for now.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I don't know, Liz, you have some?
No, I couldn't be more agree. Yeah, I mean, I think, well, if we talk only in the Facebook groups, but I mean, I think there could be also more like outside. But I would say probably that it is, I don't know, I think it's very, how to say, I'm trying to order my idea. That, for example, I think everybody, as you said, Nick, everybody was using ChatGPT, and I think it's like all the automatization. I think for us is the thing, you know, like our automatization, the answers, the questions, everything, and it's saving time. You know, I think this is like the best thing that we can have.
Okay, and maybe asking the other way around also, let's say if now more and more companies and also public authorities are developing, AI-powered digital services, etc., looking at those services from the perspective of a migrant who's new to this country, what do you think are important things to consider when those kind of services are being developed, in order to make sure, thinking about potential for discrimination, or that those kind of services are actually accessible and fair, provide fair access to migrants and refugees in Germany?
I guess they need to investigate very well what they really need or what they really want. Mm-hmm. You know, I mean, because at the end, the AI can be, a powerful tool, but I think the best way to do it is with a human contact, So that's why it's very important to really immerse in a world of a community. I mean, it could be an online community, but sometimes the answers online is just answers, it's not probably the real thing. So mm-hmm. I think it's very important to still have this connection with the people, or like the old ways to get this information, like at least I don't know, like a video session where you can get the answers, and it's not just, I think it's now about only numbers, and it's kind of like they are generalizing things, and I think we still need to know the real humans behind, and I mean, you cannot say like, oh yes, all migrants are the same. You cannot. No. Not all Latinas are the same. Just I'm saying, like, you will say like Mexicans are this way. No, like, so it's like a way that you really have to immerse on the experience of the migrant. So I think this mm-hmm. is very important, and not just to say, okay, I will just assume this and put it in ChatGPT.
Right. So you're basically saying that rather than digitizing everything, that only digital interaction is possible, still have possibility for human
Exactly.
contact.
Exactly. Thank you.
Okay.
Yes, of course. Yeah. I mean, I think it's really interesting to use the AI for a lot of things, but hopefully when they try to approach important things inside, for example, in this case, like in migrational issues, they still hear what we have to say really as humans and not just numbers out there.
Ja.
Ja, an dieser Stelle wollte ich mich auch dem anschließen, weil es ist wichtig, die Zugänglichkeit auch im Sinn zu behalten und auch wichtig, dass es an die Bedarfe angepasst wird. Wir haben so viele Apps, die entwickelt wurden für das Ankommen von Geflüchteten und Migranten in Deutschland und die einfach niemand weiß über die und die einfach nicht gängig sind, nicht benutzt werden und die auch teilweise nicht an die Bedarfe angepasst werden. Und ich glaube, diesen kommunikativen Aspekt und den Wissenstransfer, was in den Online-Communities auch passiert, den Blick dabei zu behalten und wirklich in dem Medium sich auch bewegen, wo Migranten auch sind. Das ist, glaube ich, auch sehr, sehr wichtig bei Entwicklung, das mitzudenken, für wen man macht, wie erreiche ich diese Person und für was ist es gut.
Okay, also es ist eine interessante Schlussfolgerung für ein Panel über Digitalisierung und KI. Mehr mit Menschen reden, aber finde ich gut. Aber das ist ja dann immer auch die Frage, wie kommt man in Austausch mit Leuten aus solchen Communities, ja, was ja jetzt für jemanden, weiß nicht, aus der öffentlichen Verwaltung in Lörrach oder in Garmisch-Partenkirchen, wie kommen die jetzt irgendwie in Kontakt mit den Akteuren, die da diese Communities organisieren in ihren...
Ich glaube, in Deutschland gibt es schon sehr weit entwickelte auch Migrantenlandschaft. Es gibt Strukturen, es gibt Migranten-Selbstorganisationen, es gibt Community-Leader, mit denen man auf jeden Fall in Kontakt treten und einen Austausch und mit denen auf Augenhöhe community-gerechte Kommunikation und nachhaltige Strategie schaffen soll und diese an Bord zu holen, mit an den Tisch zusammenzusetzen und maßgeschneiderte Instrumente gemeinsam zu entwickeln. Das ist, glaube ich, das Wichtigste.
Okay. Und wir haben hier natürlich auch zwei Vertreter. Was würdet ihr sagen? What would you say? What's the best way for NGOs or public institutions to get in touch with people like yourself who kind of members and organizers of these online communities?
I guess just to offer the opportunity. I mean, I know there's a lot of funding, a lot of programs and stuff, but I think as far as I know, there's no something like clear out there, you know? I mean, I think we have a lot of power, and the question is also, what do we have that they also need? You know? I mean, because it's like, I don't know, as I see it in my community, women want to work. You know, the people who come from Latin America, they come with really, at least in Germany, they come with a lot of acknowledgement, for example, and they are ready to work, and they don't know what, you know, it's so difficult. So I would love, you know, there's a lot of programs already that teaches you for a lot of things, teaching all the time. You're, you know, like learning, but what happens to the women that are ready to work? You know, so I would love to have someone like I don't know, like NGO or something, an organization that are ready to grab all these people or these migrants to put them, you know, like in the right track. So yeah, for sure, I would love to have access to like a program that is not only studying, it's also to put you to work. Yeah. Okay.
Which there should be quite a few NGOs and public institutions whose job exactly.
Yeah, call me.
So then, yes.
Please.
Okay.
I haven't found, so hopefully.
Yeah.
Alle haben den QR-Code gesehen.
Exactly. Excellent. Yeah, Nick, I don't know. Do you have any? Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think it's really hard, even as someone who's actively working in immigration, to know well, what's going on, what's available to people, and to guide people towards the right resources. Because they often exist. There is help out there. But if I'm here new in Berlin, first week in Berlin, and I start Googling things, it's going to be really hard to find those. And I don't think you necessarily need AI to connect people to those who can help them. You can do this with text on a web page. But making this more discoverable helps a lot. And a big part of what I'm doing this year is just basically gathering all the people who solve problems for immigrants and just putting them in the same room. Just saying, like, talk to each other. And I mean, this is what we're doing today. But I'm part of a WhatsApp group that is full of relocation consultants. Has like maybe dozens of us. And it means that every morning someone says like, hey, I'm trying to do this bureaucratic task. Does anyone have experience with it? And people just start talking and just solving problems together. So I think this is a problem that we have in Germany, where a lot of like the bureaucratic knowledge is just in people's heads. It's like someone has an experience and they just keep it to themselves. And a lot of my work is just putting this on the internet where other people can find it. And I think we can even use AI to resurface that information if we have to, like to just like crawl Facebook groups and just like find interesting data to improve the content. But in the end, it's also just manual work that can be done with very boring technology and very motivated people. So yeah, I do think that there's a big opportunity in just making all these people who are willing to help, who get a lot of funding, to make them more visible, easier to find.
Cool. And in your experience, have the people in various public institutions and German public institutions, are they open to then having conversations with you to share their knowledge about those bureaucratic processes?
I'm going to be mean.
Come on.
No, so individuals inside Berlin's city government are incredible. I've met a few of them, and I've always left feeling like, wow, these people really believe in their work, and they're super nice to work with, and they want to help. But you really have to take your time to approach them, and they have to deal with a lot of red tape, and it's just really hard to extract information from the government. So I have a shortcut that allows me to email all 12 districts in Berlin, like all the Bürgerämter in each district in Berlin, to ask them a question. And so if I ask them a simple question like, who needs to bring a birth certificate when doing their Anmeldung? So I sent 12 emails, I got 6 answers, so the others just never reply, or Mitte replies like 8 weeks later. And out of those 6 answers, like 2 or 3 are template answers that sometimes don't even match the question, and like 1 or 2 are contradicting each other. And this is what I do day to day, and now I just talk to the people who actually go with their clients to the Bürgeramt, and they have actual answers. But it kind of became a joke in this community of relocation consultants to just press the "it depends" button, because it depends. You go to the Bürgeramt in Mitte, you have a certain experience, but it depends on which worker you get on that day and how they feel that day. And you go to another place, you get another experience. And synthesizing all that information, so like just summarizing it to a bunch of sentences that don't need to be updated in 6 weeks is extremely hard. And I think the only way to fix that would just to do it on the government side, to have good official information maintained by dedicated people who work for the city. Because doing it from a distance, as I'm doing now as an observer, someone who's just a victim of bureaucracy and not like a participant in it, it's a lot harder to get clear, accurate information. And I think it's actually the Bürgeramt people are very nice, and it's a lot harder to get answers from the Ausländerbehörde, who simply don't answer. So
Okay.
it would be helpful.
Thank you. Maybe that's also a strategy of resistance by official institutions to be against being digitized and ChatGPT accessing all the information. But I'm afraid we have to come to an end. I just want to thank you guys a lot. This was really fascinating, your insights, I hope also for the audience. Yeah, I mean, we're still around, so if you want to talk to panelists and get their contacts and so on, don't be shy. Thanks again for being able to be here, and yeah.
And thank you for having us.
Yes.